Stop eating candy, Craig.
I'm done. There's no candy in my mouth.
Put the candy away.
Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club, the weekly comic book podcast where, just like Sue Storm, we love a good read. Oh man, we had some real good reads this week. If these comics were people, they'd be pumping iron,
God.
dripping in sweat from all the work they're putting in.
Yeah. Would they like me as a person?
Yeah. These comics are polite. They're the fun kind of gym bros.
Oh, okay. Like Richard Simmons. The comics we read this week are Richard Simmons.
The original gym bro.
The original gym bro, Richard Simmons. Or the guy that wore the suit that looked like Inside Out.
They come up to you and say, "Hey, I just had to let you know, you're using that machine perfectly."
Yeah.
These are the kind of comics we read this week. It's reinforcing everything you know
Just
and love.
Positive affirmations.
Exactly right.
R.I.P. to a legend.
That's right. Poor guy.
Yeah. Poor guy. Death finally caught up with him. What can you do?
I thought he was going to be the one to make it out.
Yeah. He lived a good one. Sweating to the oldies till the very end.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if he... there were rumors he was part of like a cult or something, right? Didn't he like disappear?
What?
He definitely stepped away from public appearances and all that.
Is that all it was?
I don't know much about...
There was a whole podcast about him like missing.
Yeah, he
that,
did
like,
suffer from depression. So like...
Is that all it was?
There are a lot of rumors. I don't know exactly.
Can you imagine being depressed and then someone does a podcast about you missing?
Yeah.
Like, that sucks.
And then speculating about you being depressed.
Yeah.
Like, he knew that there was a podcast about
I
him.
just want to be left alone.
I spent my formidable years sweating to the oldies. I just want to be an oldie who sweats alone now.
That's right.
He stopped teaching his exercise class at Slimmons, which is a fucking amazing.
That is a good name.
Yeah.
And cut off contact with friends and removed himself from the media.
Oh.
However, he said he never disappeared and that he was just leading a more private life.
Good.
Hey, man.
Good for you.
Go on your own terms.
You are listening to First Issue Club, the premier Richard Simmons empathy podcast. We also like to talk about some comic book news and first issues, and boy, we've got some bangers.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we're talking about the gym, protein powder, all that stuff is because we've got the Abs-swole-glute jacked man, numero uno, out by Mr. Scott Snyder and Nick Dragata.
Yep.
And
so many thoughts on this book.
We're gonna have takes.
Most of them lewd.
So I feel like we'll leave a good chunk of time to discuss that because we're gonna need it. But before we get into anything else, we would be remiss if we didn't thank Boulevard Brewing Company and their Space Camper Cosmic IPA for sponsoring the podcast. Without this delicious beer, one, we would be sad, and as would our taste buds, and as would you, because it's a great beverage. Two, First Issue Club would not exist in the mode that it does today. So thank you for keeping our podcast going and keeping our thirst quenched with this delicious beverage.
Thank you, Boulevard Brewing Company. Yum, yum, give me some down in my tum-tum. It's not a beer, it's a journey. Was there any other ones that we left off?
End of list.
Okay.
Get zooted to the moon.
Yep.
We say that one sometimes.
Yep.
Moving on. Comic book news. I think we each had a smattering this week of stuff we've heard through the grapevine. Do you have anything, Greg?
I have something from the rumor mill that apparently...
Well, should we start with cold hard facts, or do we want to be one of these rumor podcasts?
Listen,
I like to mix it in so no one knows when news is news.
Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, sometimes you got to run on speculation. and this is just a hot rumor, a teeming tip of comic book goodness that cannot be confirmed by my sources. I have good sources, the best sources, that beginning soon, mainline Batman will be helmed by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee.
Which, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. They
I
might
can
do-
neither confirm nor deny these rumors as true.
First of all, they already have Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez on there.
Right.
I could see them coming in and doing like a 2-issue deal, like a break,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no way Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee are coming in to take over ongoing Batman.
Can you imagine Jim Lee doing all the interiors for an ongoing book now?
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
That is wild.
He's already running DC.
I mean, yeah, he's got more than a full-time job on his hands right now.
I could see them coming in and being like, "Hey, this is Batman Hush 2,"
Mm-hmm.
and they just do like 4 issues
Yeah.
that they've been working on for the past 47 years because those dudes are busy boys.
That would sell like crazy. I mean, that would be really wild. I would be very excited were that the case. I would also dread the old heads that this would bring out of the
True.
woodworks.
Yeah.
Showing
Yeah.
up at your comic shop and trying to start a conversation about how comics have sucked since
Yeah.
the 90s. And you're just like, I don't want to have
Yeah.
this conversation again.
Um,
Obviously, I disagree. I'm here.
Yeah.
the only reason that I'm even entertaining this idea is that recently Chip Zdarsky has been posting some funny videos about how Ryan North, writer of Fantastic Four, doesn't say Namor. He says Namor for the villain of the Fantastic Four.
Mhm.
And how everyone makes fun of him because he says Namor. And he has his hashtag going right now that says Fire Ryan North. And so in my tinfoil hat brain, I'm thinking Zdarsky's moving to write Fantastic Four. And Ryan North maybe goes to like an Avengers book or something. Like, I think there's going to be some moving parts there. So really, I just want Chip to be writing Fantastic Four. Ryan North's been doing a bang-up job with Fantastic Four. But to get Chip on Fantastic Four would be amazing.
Talk about a shot in the arm for Fantastic Four.
Truly.
But talk about a loss for DC. Losing him on Batman.
But gaining Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee.
But again, there's no way those dudes are going to do more than 5 issues.
This is a scenario we're just walking through.
I mean, okay, yep. Jim Lee's going to do 47 more issues of Batman.
And what's this breaking news? Rob Liefeld's back on Deadpool. And he can draw feet?
Oh, wait, hold on. Rob Liefeld's not writing Deadpool anymore because he's going to be doing Batman
Rob Liefeld
with
on
Jim
Batman.
Lee.
Well, actually, Rob Liefeld is back because he's bringing back Youngbloods to Image.
That's what, yeah, I was getting a perfect segue.
Which goes back to your thing
Great
about old
segue.
heads coming back to the comic book shop.
Yeah. So, what do we think about this? Are you guys pre-ordering Rob Liefeld's resurgence of Youngbloods?
No.
Only the 1 in 1,000 variant. I'm keeping it simple.
I will be getting another mortgage on my house to buy a 1 in 1,000 Rob Liefeld signed Youngbloods reboot. Yeah, that's it. It is interesting. Like, Youngbloods, I think, holds a special place in a very specific person's heart, and I don't know that.
Who they are?
Well,
They're a very irritating person.
well, these are probably the same people who would come out of the woodworks for Jim Lee Batman, who like
Okay.
people who haven't read Batman in 25 years, being like, finally, Batman's gonna be good again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you haven't read it in
Yeah.
25 years. How do you?
Yeah, but I know. The tone's off.
I don't need to read it.
I'm an empath. I can pick up on vibes.
The Bat vibe is off.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think you're gonna have some Gen Xers who are gonna be like, sweet, who maybe haven't read comics in a
Sweet.
bit.
A shitty thing I used to like is back. When's Fruit Stripe Gum making its return?
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this will get pre-ordered out the wazoo, and he's a big name tied to something we're all familiar with. But like, I think a lot of comic book fans our age aren't well versed in Youngbloods. It was something you just like picked up a random issue of because the characters look cool, and then we're like, what?
Yeah, this
You know what
doesn't
I
make
mean?
any goddamn sense.
Like, yeah, you would think for how long we've been reading comics and how big of a name in comics that is, that we would have gone back and explored some of this more to understand what Youngbloods is and all the relationships between the characters. But there isn't necessarily I think a big go-to trade that you're just like, wow, this is one that like stood the test of time from Youngbloods and is still talked about today, or is like the story, the arc to have. You know what I mean?
Gun to my head, I can't name.
Let's say I know someone's gonna message us and be like, "Oh, there absolutely is," and they did this crossover event at Image and blah blah blah. It's like you're a super fan, of this stuff.
Listen, all right, the three of us here, arguably some of the biggest comic book people, let's say in the state of Missouri. At least
in the world. Has anyone else done a top best of 100 list? I don't think so.
Look, can anybody sitting at this table right now name 2 characters from Youngblood?
Mitchell and
Dominic
and Dr. Stab.
This is what I'm saying. Like
Clawface.
Oh,
we all know that Youngblood is a comic that existed.
Jack Gin Hammerfist.
Nobody can name a fucking character. Like,
my name is Brunt Hammered Jaw, and I'm on Youngbloods.
Hellboy is getting mixed reviews.
yeah,
Is it on a streamer?
It's
you
VOD.
have to
you
buy
have
it.
to buy it. It's one of those things that's like $20 to rent, probably.
It's $20 to buy. I could not find a
Oh.
place to rent it. I tried to watch it last night,
Yeah.
and I could only find it for purchase on Fandango at Home, or formerly Vudu, and Prime Video for $20.
Eesh.
Yeah,
I heard it's not bad.
The Rotten Tomatoes score is like 30%, but all the comic book websites I've read are like, it's not perfect. It's got a shoestring budget, but it's the closest we've come to a Hellboy comic on film.
Yeah. I saw one headline that was just like snooze fest.
Sure.
Oh, the character Snooze Fest.
Oh, he was on Youngblood.
Yeah. Got him.
So I don't know. I'll see the movie at some point. I don't know that I'm going to pay $20 for it, which then we're asking for things like this to fail.
Yeah.
If we're not willing to pay $20 to see it, I guess.
I know.
I'll
I
wait
resigned
for the
myself.
steelbook.
I'm gonna watch it tonight. I'm gonna
Are
buy.
ya?
Yeah, I'll buy it and text you guys and let you know.
Okay. Yeah, please.
I'll save you.
I know. I genuinely wanted it to succeed.
I did too.
Yeah.
It looked really cool, and I feel like
It
low
got-
budget Hellboy stuff
Yeah.
works better.
I mean, you're really dooming something by putting it straight to video on demand.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Thanks a lot, Ketchup Entertainment.
True.
Was that the name of the production company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My main news for this week is that Superman lost his virginity at 30 in the Superman and Lois season 4 premiere.
Hold on.
Yeah. Hold on.
Hold
wait,
on.
wait.
There's a lot to dissect here. 1, so young?
2,
That's crazy.
they're married?
2, out of wedlock? Question
Okay,
mark?
here's the funny thing is earlier before Lois basically realizes he's a virgin.
Basically threw it back on him and made him.
They tell each other
Boss.
they love each other. And the idea
And
of
Clark goes, on my planet, that means we must bed.
He draws a dick and he's like, it means love.
the idea of a couple in modern America maturing their relationship to the point of saying they love one another without boning first.
Yeah.
Is like
It's got big Duggar energy.
so hilarious to me. These two people are supposed to be like functioning people in a large city.
Right. They're also
They've been,
fucking fine as hell.
Dating forever. Yeah. Like super beautiful. And it's never come up that he's a virgin before.
Isn't this on the CW? Well,
I think it is.
There's the problem, right?
I love it.
Clark, you never say anything when I'm in my negligee. Well, I'm, kind of busy just doing other stuff.
It's because you got a big alien dick.
Okay. Well, can we address something, though?
Yeah.
So in Superman 3, Superman had to give up his powers so he could have sex with Lois. Because if he had his Kryptonian, like, alien DNA and strength, he would destroy Lois's pelvis.
Sure.
Because he is so
He
powerful.
couldn't have self-restraint.
Well, it's kind of just like...
Bro,
it's like
the
a
force
golden-
of his
It's-
arriving.
No, it's like a dog with a newborn baby. Like, you just don't know your strength. It's like George from Mice and Men with a rabbit.
Yeah,
Like, you're so excited and you lose control. And before you know it, you're holding the dead bunny.
One slip of the tongue, Mike, and he's...
Yeah. Also, do they make condoms strong enough to repel Kryptonian semen?
I want to dial down the machismo meter on this conversation.
All right.
Our podcast thumbnail, after all, does say a safe space for comic fans.
Sorry, I didn't know this
And
was
I
an
think-
episode of Kill Tony.
I
My
think
bad.
we're getting into
Now our special guest, Shane Gillis, will be joining us to do some impressions. Okay, and yeah.
But interesting choice, CW. I think doesn't need to be acknowledged at all.
First of all,
That was going to be
First of
my
all,
first question.
weird dunk on Superman.
Why even bring it up in like? You could easily just have them say "I love you," like that could be a moment
Yes, right.
without
being like, what next?
and now we bang.
Yeah. So silly. Okay. Well, good for you, Clark.
You made it.
Lois.
Wait,
No, wait a minute. Hold on.
Were
Did
you-
it address Lois?
Is Lois a virgin?
No.
That's sexist.
How forward thinking.
Yeah, way to go, CW.
She's like, I don't know. You're like number 15 or 20. I'm
Yeah.
a beautiful babe in a blossoming metropolis.
No. The next episode is Superman on a podcast. But what's your body count?
On Joe Rogan.
On Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Yuck. Pivot now. What's your news, Andy?
What's my news? Joker 2 made less money than Morbius did on its opening week.
That's
Thoughts?
about one of the wildest things I've ever heard. I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar in the first movie, right?
Joker 1 is the second highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. After
Deadpool now.
Wolverine just beat them.
Yeah.
And
How does this happen?
because they didn't need to make a Joker 2.
And Joker 1 probably wasn't that good.
And Joker 2 is a musical.
Do you think that's what it is? Is that people are just like, I don't want to go see a musical.
Yes. If they made it a Western, yeah, like genre movies like that don't do well.
Hold on.
I mean,
Joker 2 is a Western?
Joker-
Sounds kind of amazing.
yeah, no, I would go see that.
Well, what's his face? The Yellowstone guy,
Kevin Costner.
Kevin
Costner, put like a ton of money into his like big
Horizons.
two-part movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first one like absolutely tanked, and they're already like they were planning to make the second one because it seemed so bankable at the time. I do think there's something to be said about just like movie theaters not being a draw anymore. That like
Well, maybe it's just Kevin Costner.
post COVID that we're all just like, yeah, movie theaters are gross, awful places.
I don't know, man. Deadpool and Wolverine is the highest grossing R-rated movie ever made.
Yeah, but blockbusters seem like they're so far and few between compared to like it used to be during the summer like every 2 weeks there was like a new movie that was making like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, that was before streaming, though.
Now there's just like,
I mean,
one-
Oppenheimer and Barbie.
yeah,
I think it
goes for content.
it's audience tastes for sure.
yeah,
People don't want sequels for the sake of sequels anymore.
yeah,
Like, I think a lot of the like superhero fatigue is actually just sequel fatigue. Like, people wanted Dune 2 and Dune 3 because Dune 1 was interesting and a new fresh story.
Mhm.
People don't want Joker 2 because the ending of Joker 1 didn't necessitate a Joker 2.
mm-hmm.
Also, when did Joker come out? 2020?
Yeah. 2021, 2020, 2021.
It took you 4 years to make another Joker movie?
That's kind of normal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's not.
But it's like there was no CG heaviness. Like,
Mhm.
you could shit out that story in a weekend. Like, what's Joaquin Phoenix doing? Napoleon? That's about, like,
Yeah. Well, they already had most of that filmed.
it shouldn't have taken you 4 years to do this.
Yeah.
Because you lost the heat from the first Joker.
That's true.
The thing that made the Joker so popular was the drama around it.
Yeah, people thought it was going to spawn a bunch of
Yeah,
serial killers.
they thought it was like a sleeper cell, like Winter Soldier
yeah.
activation movie where everyone's gonna be buying fedoras and calling everyone milady, and just like taking over schools. But it was a dud, and if I'm being honest, so was the first one. I'm not shocked that it didn't make a lot of money. I am shocked that now Morbius can say it made more money than Joker 2.
Dude, it's crazy, isn't it?
Do you think it is, to your point, did a lot of people go see Joker and not like it?
I think they went out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I
And
knew a
then-
lot of people who weren't in the comic books were just like, let's go see what this fucking Joker movie is about.
Yeah, right. And they were satiated by what they saw.
Well, not even that, right?
Or we're like, now I know what it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they don't need a second one.
Right. That scratch was itched.
Well, and it's like it's a genre movie too,
Mhm.
right? It's a Martin Scorsese movie. It's a 70s movie that takes place in New York, and
Yeah.
a bunch of people are like talking at each other about political and social tension. Nobody wants to watch that movie. I want to watch that movie, but like
Mhm.
I don't.
general audiences don't.
And I think I think Lady Gaga was great stunt casting for Harley Quinn. I don't even know if you can call it stunt casting anymore because she's been a great actress in
Oscar winner.
a lot of things at this point.
She got a Tony?
She's not EGOTing.
But a lot of the early reviews were like, there's not enough Lady Gaga in this movie. Like, everyone kind of thought this was going to be like
Yeah.
the Harley Quinn movie.
Mm-hmm.
And she plays support to him and is in it sparsely, I guess, which is too bad. I don't know.
Do you want the ending spoiled for you?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
I do.
allegedly.
So, spoilers. Skip ahead
Spoilers.
if you don't want them.
So the ending explained of Joker 2 is there's like a big cinematic ending scene in the streets of New York where this version of the Joker, what's his name? Arthur Fleck?
Yeah.
Kind of running around, kind of discombobulated and confused. There's smoke and chaos everywhere, and people dressed up as clowns, and like just like there's a big scene out on the streets. And lo and behold, someone comes up to him, dressed as a clown, and it is supposed to be Heath Ledger's Joker finding him in the crowd and taking him to like another location where like other people are.
Yikes.
That is like the illusion of what, like, that's what is alluded to what is happening.
Big yikes.
What?
And like there's even articles where like Christopher Nolan was just like, please do not do that. Like, do not do what you are doing. And
Todd Phillips was like, gonna do that.
yeah.
What a bad decision. Now I gotta go see this movie.
Yeah,
now.
same.
Damn it, Greg.
That's like baffling.
So hopefully that encourages you.
You didn't see it. You just.
I saw the scene. Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah. It was like someone's leaked cell phone thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. If I can watch it online, I'll just go see The Substance like I was planning. Go see The Substance.
Is that the one with
Demi Moore.
I heard it's yucky.
Yeah. That's why I want to see it.
Body horror stuff.
No, I don't like that.
It's like trauma kind of stuff.
It's like Cronenberg.
Cronenberg, while brilliant, it's just the fucking grossest dude in the
Two
world.
melting thumbs up.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I want to see him do a kids movie.
Bro.
I want him to do Cars 4.
Bro, where the cars are actually people.
People inside of them that are like just deformed and tortured.
Joker 2.
Is it comic time now?
Yeah. Let's get to comics.
Comic time. Comic time.
We had
Andy.
What?
We both read Sentinels.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of crossover this week.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about Sentinels.
Go for it. You lead us off because you're back.
I'm back, baby, and I read all the comics.
Yeah, you did.
I bought 29 comics this week at my LCS because it's been like a month since I was there.
Yeah, you've been a little busy.
I've been a little busy. Read Sentinels by Alex Packnadel, and I love this concept.
Yeah.
It took a little bit, and maybe Mike D can weigh in because this is an X tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
Have we had inklings of these Sentinels in other books yet that you've read?
We've had Sentinel people before, but
Well, so these are soldiers inside a suit that is based on Sentinel technology.
Yeah.
These are folks.
yeah.
They're like mod suits.
Yeah, they're like Iron Man extremis suits, but Sentinel.
Okay.
And are they ex-mutants?
No, I got the vibe that they were like wounded soldiers.
Yeah,
that are pulled into this program, told that like, oh, we can give you a prosthetic leg basically, but you have to sign up for this program and do a stint. You have to do a tour.
Basically, Iron Man 2?
No, Iron Man 3.
Iron Man
Yeah,
3.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll fix your arm, but you got to be a Sentinel for a while.
But at what cost?
Kind of. Yeah, so there's like, a group of soldiers and they all have different like Sentinel powers with these like Sentinel suits and is it Larry Trask, Bolivar Trask's son? He's like the leader, the bankroller. And their task is to bring in like dangerous like AWOL mutants.
Right.
So issue 1 they're bringing in Omega Red.
Issue 2 is Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah, well, and the big reveal at the end of the book is Onslaught. We find out that Onslaught is like back and out there.
Huh?
I know, right?
That was the perfect review of that book. One word. Huh?
I mean,
I thought we put that well to bed at this point.
there were a lot of plot points that I felt lost on. I felt like I wasn't privileged. I wasn't part of the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
But I really dug the action and the idea of the book.
Right. This book is like when you're at a restaurant with your wife and the table behind you is having a knockdown, drag out fight.
Yeah.
And you're doing everything you can to listen to it from your booth.
That's exactly
You're getting
right.
part of the conversation, but not all of it. That is what Sentinels is. I'm going to pick up issue 2 because it's super cool.
I trust Alex Packnadel
Totally.
completely. And the fact that the idea is solid. I liked the like physical things that were happening in the book. The fight scenes were solid. Like it was fun. Again, the idea is cool. It's just the like details of the nitty gritty. Like, what is this Sentinels program? Are they like working with the government? Are they?
Well, aren't they paired with the group that has the mutant prison based out of Xavier's school?
Yes. Gray Malkin.
Yeah. I
So
think
they're working
Yeah.
with them. So there is some kind of probably government approval of what they're doing. So it's cool. I like that it's a very easy tie-in villain book. Because you're not supposed to like these people, right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe
They're bad. They're hunting down mutants.
but they're hunting. I mean, bad mutants. They're hunting down Omega Red to keep him from hurting people. That was
We'll see.
yeah. And maybe they go rogue and say we're not going to hunt down Glob Herman because he's a nice boy.
Right. Well, and I guess the hook that we're keeping unbaited is that if you keep these suits on for too long, you become like assimilated with the technology, and you basically start turning it into a Sentinel, and you have to be like put down as soon as that starts to happen.
Yeah, so you have to keep your emotions in check, Mike.
Yeah. Can't be a hothead.
Dang. Omega Red's a good guy now.
He's a good guy now.
He was on X-Force for quite a while.
Not in this book. I'll tell you that much.
He was doing bad stuff?
I'll tell you that for
He was
free.
hurting people.
He deserved to be brought in, huh?
Or maybe not. Maybe that's the twist.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it was not explained in this book.
Again, I was kept out of the conversation.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, though. I mean, all in all, I thought it was a cool book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, again, a 5-issue mini, so your cost of entry is pretty low.
Yeah.
But I think this team and this concept has legs to go further.
I do too. I would agree.
So
We're agreeing with you.
There's Sentinels. What else did we also read, Greg? Terminator. You take lead on Terminator.
Terminator.
I love this cover.
Written by Declan Shalvey. Artists are Luke Sparrow and Colin Cracker. I'll be the first to admit I am not extremely versed in Terminator lore or legend. I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a part of them. He appears naked in some of them.
Hot.
And he will be back or not be back. So I don't know if the people featured in this comic are references to other characters from the movies. Andy, am I?
So not that I know of.
Okay.
And I have seen all the movies and I'm familiar with them intimately.
Okay. Knowing that, I loved this book.
Yeah.
Pacing, art, action, 10 out of 10 every single page. I want you all to hear that. 10 out of 10 on every single page.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what the fuck was going on in this book.
By the end of the book, I got the impression that this will be an anthology series.
I think you might be right.
Like every issue is going to be
a standalone thing.
A unique story about a Terminator or a human interacting with a Terminator.
Because this was so open and shut.
Yeah.
Seemed like I should have been reading 8 issues before this book, because it was like dropped in at the very end of a story, and you're just kind of like, what is happening? Why are they fighting this thing?
Yeah.
And then you're like, they're doing these things in the story, and like you would think there'd be a huge emotional impact on you that these things are happening, but you're just an outsider watching this happen, just like, okay, I guess I can fill in the blanks here of what's happening.
You know what they need to do more of in comic books? Just on the title page, be like, throughout history, there have been several Terminators.
This is their story.
These are their stories.
Yeah.
Just like a quick sentence.
So you want the Law and Order intro.
Yeah.
I mean,
basically,
truly, yeah.
That is just like, this is what you're about to read.
Dun,
because
dun.
I can't tell you how many comics that I've read that I've just been like, what is going on? And then you go check the solicit afterwards, and it explains what the deal with the story is.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I didn't get any of that from this.
Right.
But knowing that and then going back and reading it, you've got context for what the author was at least trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you would give me, if a book requires a log line on the first page, give me the log line.
Give me a long line.
Otherwise, I think
I'm not going to be deterred.
Yeah.
a lot of times with these, I think people are just too close to it.
Yeah.
Or they miss that there's a huge part of it that just needs to be stated. Like,
Yeah.
we're not all on the same page about what this is trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get through like 3 of these issues and they'll all tie together at some point. Or, you know, this unique Terminator that features in this issue also features throughout, you know, the rest of the stories. But yeah, I agree. This needed a sentence that was like, hey, you remember John Connor? Well, he's not the only one that was hunted by Terminators. Check out these chuckleheads.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but like, all that aside, I love this book.
It was awesome.
This
Yeah.
was an incredible book.
Yeah.
art and the pacing, it kept me riveted the whole time. I didn't know what was happening because these people had an established relationship with this Terminator thing that we weren't privy to.
Yeah.
It was just like we had to kind of just fill in the blanks as we went along, which I don't know if that added into the fun of this book or took away from it, but I was captivated the whole time.
I do kind of like when books that feature time travel as a MacGuffin use like play with storytelling structure time wise, because this like Greg said, it starts out basically the end of the story, and then you jump back and it fills in, and then you jump forward again, and then you jump back. So by the end of it, you can piece together the timeline. You know, it pulls a Memento, right? But yeah, going in at the front, it kind of makes no sense. But
and you still really don't know why this thing is following them.
That's the big question mark at the end of the book, is like, why did the Terminator go after this elderly couple? But
because they were burning pictures of their like,
yeah.
The thing is, the Terminator shows up, right? This Terminator is like...
Yeah. What's this Terminator guy do?
The Terminator is like has been following them their entire life.
Since the 80s.
Like the movie It Follows. It's like just a persistent thing hunting them down. And they've lived their whole life into their elderly age, and it has finally found them.
Yeah. But we don't know why it's hunting them.
Right. And now all of a sudden they're burning pictures and mementos. And I think we're clued into that they did have a son.
Yeah, he was in the picture at the end.
And he's alive. And now I think this Terminator thing...
They don't want the Terminator to find their lineage.
So I think they're going to... Unless this next book is that Terminator hunting down that son...
Sure.
That's the only... Because there was no to be continued. There wasn't even the end at this book. It just kind of stopped. And even the backup story in the back of the book had a to be continued.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sal from Comics Pop. He's the one who wrote it.
Yeah.
It was like maybe 8 panels.
Yeah. It was
and then done. It was like, this whole book just seemed like there was a printing error and we didn't get the full book.
Yeah. It was very good. I think this will read better in trade.
Maybe. Anyway, pick of the week. It was awesome.
It was so sick.
I know I'm a lot of whiplash here, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, so the last thing I'll say about it is it did remind me of the original elevator pitch for the original Terminator movie was it's a slasher movie, but the killer is a robot from the future. And that's what this reminded me of. Of a supernatural killer who happens to be a robot from the future hunting down this couple for their entire lives. And that's like the scary part of Terminator.
Have there ever been a dog Terminator?
No.
Something to think about.
You ever thought about a dog Terminator?
Yeah, this is good and all, but what if that was a dog?
What if dog?
What if Airbud did this?
What if Airbud did
Is there room for an Airbud Terminator?
Picturing
Just the pitch meeting.
The scene in Back to the Future where Chuck Berry's cousin is like, listen to this.
Hey, Airbud, you're listening to the...
It's Skynet on the phone.
Someone at 20th Century Fox.
Hey, you know that new revamp for the Terminator series you've been looking for?
You know that kid you've been trying to kill? Listen to this.
Listen to this.
Woof, woof, woof.
Oh, good stuff.
Was this last week?
Oh, A Toxic Avenger was this week.
I thought it was too. Did you read it?
No, I was too busy wiping myself down after reading Absolute Batman.
I'll talk about Toxie real quick. So I read Toxic Avenger because the Gypsy's Curse said that I had to. It was a lot of fun. It's a very silly book.
It's Matt Bohr, right?
Yeah, it's Matt Bohr. It's another book that plays with time very weirdly. We pick up in the middle of the story, and they make a lot of allusions to COVID, and I was very uncomfortable because everybody's talking about how it's, you know, fake disease and all this like stuff going on. They're in a quarantine. But then as the book goes on, you're like, oh, it's actually this like tanker that tipped over that created all these toxic mutants. That's what they're talking about. So it's very fun. very lighthearted, very silly. Probably not for everybody because it's so lighthearted and silly, but if you're a citizen of Tromaville, you have to pick this up.
Yeah.
You've got to read it. So I would love to lend it to Mike D.
Ooh.
And get his opinion on it, because I have to I have to know what you think about it, Mike. Maybe we can talk about it on next week's Patreon.
Maybe you can get a timeshare in Tromaville.
I love Matt Bors, and he wrote the Nib for a long time, or was like the main editor of the Nib, which was like a lot of political modern day commentary in the form of comics.
Right.
And he did this series called The Wasteland, which is like a very Mad Max parody style way of talking about like where our political climate is going to lead us very soon. And
this sounds a lot like that.
Yes. And when I realized he was going to be writing this, I was like, absolute perfect book for this guy to just like continue the thing that he was kind of doing that we already love, but with characters that we already know and like. So I've been really excited to read this. So
Okay, cool.
I'll be ready to give a take next week.
I went into this not knowing any of that.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like a little jarring at the beginning because it was so political.
Heavy political commentary in a lot of his work.
Well, and I didn't know which way they were leaning.
Yes,
and
he's
I was
very
like,
liberal.
What is the But again, by the end, it like all becomes clear.
Yeah.
And then the last one I read.
Cover fucking rules too.
Yeah, the last one I read before we talk about Abs-swole-glutes, jacked man. I read The Body Trade by our boy Zach Thompson, who absolutely knocked it out of the fucking park again.
Every Zach Thompson book, incredible.
And based on this book alone, this could be either like a Netflix movie or a mini series or something, because it's so good. It's so good, you guys. It's about this guy on the cover, and he shows up page 1 to his young son's funeral. And we find out that he and his wife are on the outs because he was driving a car, presumably drunk, and crashed it and killed his young son.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So it's a real rough intro. And then he finds out that they're actually not burying his son. They have this pod that he's holding on the cover. And that his son's body was actually donated to Science, this company, for kind of unknown purposes. And he takes it upon himself to go to the company and say, I don't want this pod, I want my son's body. And presumably the rest of the series is going to be him kind of uncovering the nefarious reasons why this company wants dead bodies, and why they're willing to cover funeral burial costs and medical costs to acquire these bodies. So yeah, it's super heavy, but damn, it was so intriguing. It was so it got me.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. It's one of those books that like I wish I had the trade right now, because it I just wanted to keep reading it.
Nice.
Yeah. Super good.
Cool.
Now.
All right, let's get to it. The reason everyone's here.
We're all sweaty over Absolute Batman.
Right. Let's just get it out of the way. He's a hunk. All right. He's, in my mind, too big to be Batman.
He's too big to fail.
But it doesn't matter.
It is one of those things where you're just like, if a person that large existed just in society.
Right.
Like, okay, Kansas City's mid-market size city. If this guy lived in Kansas City, we would all know who he was.
Right.
We would be like,
he'd be more popular than a jungle law guy.
We would be like, have you seen the guy?
Oh yeah, the
that is
guy.
always at the Starbucks around the corner of Westport,
Have you seen
Pennsylvania.
Big Man?
And everyone would be like, yes, that guy is absolutely.
He would have his own Twitter page of just like Big Man sightings,
And
just
then-
like people taking
Yes.
pictures of him.
And then when you see him in a Batman costume, you're like, that guy dressed up as a superhero. Look at him go. That's the huge Jackman.
It's easy to identify him in anything. You could be
Yeah.
like in a crowd of people and something terrible happens and it happens so fast you can't get any detail right. But if the cop goes, "Did you see a really big guy?" You go, "Yes, there was one really big guy." And they're like, "Yeah, it's him." Okay.
Imagine calves and thighs so big that you can't bend your knees.
Oh, see, I'm starting
like-
to sweat again.
And all that to say, I love the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
This book rips.
I mean, it is like so over the top. It's such a choice. More superhero comics should lean into just like
the ridiculous.
big over the top absurdity in visual expression. Like,
And to top it all off, the most absurd thing of it,
it was so fun.
the bat symbol on his chest is a fucking axe head.
Yeah.
It comes off his like. How does the Velcro to keep that thing on must be industrial strength?
Yeah, let's talk about the utility and like the costume, because the costume is kind of updated and different. Actually, first, we'll say, if you don't have context for what Absolute Batman is, we did an episode last week that kind of explains this whole thing.
Right.
Short story, alternate universe discovered, wherein all of our superheroes have different origin stories. This first issue is the origin story of this universe's Batman. So he's still Bruce Wayne,
Yep.
but holistically different. Didn't grow up rich.
Right.
Didn't grow up with, as we find out, both of his parents dying when he was young. He was raised by his mother, who's still alive. So
Right.
huge differences in Batman canon already.
Alfred is an MI6 agent.
Yeah, that part was really cool.
Yeah.
We'll get to the story here, but the utility of and design of his outfit, go.
I love the anatomically correct bat wings
Yes.
as a cape with the hooks and everything so that he can hang upside down and grab people as they're running away. Maybe my most favorite feature, but that's including the axe on his chest.
And this wasn't something that I was really aware of in the early promotional designs, was how slim those wings were and how they do feel and look a little more like a bat wing, and that he can kind of use them as whips instead of just like a traditional cape. That it does feel more like so many things about this are utilitarian.
It's an extension of himself. It's not just like a cape to like fly.
And they did an interesting thing with like his fascination with bats as a child, and then they show you that he created this bridge, this like portable bridge that like the military or something ended up like buying and funding, and it was based on the design of how bat wings fold out and can collapse really small.
Right.
And I love little things like this where like that gets peppered in early on in the story, and then later in the book you're like, okay, his interests and inventiveness as a child carried through to be like obsessive about the utility of bats and how it can translate into useful tools in society. Like instead of the original Batman just being like, I'm from a dark place.
Bats are scary.
Bats.
Well, no, it's like it's that small detail right there. In the original, it's a fear of bats.
Yeah.
He's overcoming his fear of bats to become something bigger than himself.
Yep.
This Batman, absolute clap daddy Batman, it's a love of bats.
Yeah.
And that small, minute detail changes the character a thousandfold.
Yeah.
And that is like, for me, the crux of it all. Just like, it's the perspective of Bruce Wayne that is now different.
Yeah.
It uses a motherfucking gun if he need be.
Spoiler alert, He shoots Alfred in the face with a gun.
Non-lethal bullets.
He shoots Alfred in the face with a gun.
With a beanbag thing. It's fine.
Yeah, he alters one of the world's deadliest guns to make it non-lethal. Stuns Alfred with it, who is a complete stranger to him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then gives it back to him. Like,
yeah. You go, bitch.
Yeah. Do what you want with it now? It's non-lethal.
Yeah, here's your gun.
Baller move.
Yeah.
And he makes a point to be like, Alfred's like, kind of like, why is he going to let me survive? Like, I'm after you.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, you're not the only person who follows me, dude. Like,
Yeah.
that was also like a killer line and moment that it was just, I've got this well more under control than you think, buddy.
Right.
I am prepared.
Going back to the suit quickly.
Yeah.
Some other highlights.
Yes.
We talked about the axe head that is the logo, which is like the set piece, but the ears are like throwing knives.
Yeah, he's got over-exaggerated ears and he can pull them out.
Yeah, and throw them.
Yeah.
We talked about the hooks. Probably my favorite part was that like intimidation move that he does where he like flexes on them and it like pops spikes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like makes all the bad guys run away. That was sick as hell.
And doesn't he have like a reinforced spine?
Yeah.
Like everything about this suit is just like incredible.
Yeah.
And it sounds stupid what I'm about to say, but it sounds more realistic of what some psycho that wanted to fight crime that was really smart would make.
Yeah.
It's the idea of the utility belt transitioned throughout the entire body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Which it took something core to Batman and did a more extreme version of it.
The absolute version.
The absolute version, yeah.
a couple notable differences in this universe from regular Batman. Just so I can name them off real quick if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Batman is friends with his rogue gallery
Yes.
from main universe.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Meaning Killer Croc, Penguin, Two-Face.
Yeah.
He is like childhood buddies with these people. They own a gym together, I think, or they go to the same gym.
Yeah.
Something.
Croc owns the gym.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that exactly, but it is kind of a fun wink and a nod of just like, hey, in this universe, they're all buddies actually. Like Mike D mentioned, the dad is dead. There was an incident at the zoo where Bruce's dad, who was a teacher, died saving everyone.
And I think we're kind of led to believe that it was like a shooting spree sort of thing.
That was the vibe I got because he was there as like his dad is a teacher.
Yeah.
And he was there with
Right.
a classroom, like a class of kids. So I think
Yep.
the illusion was, to like a school shooting kind of thing.
Yeah. The Joker exists,
Uh-huh.
and he's kind of like a hitman for hire.
Well, the detail we got was that he never laughs at anything.
Right.
So he's like a flip-flop Joker where he's super serious.
But like he's helping other countries, like and other like military people take care of stuff.
Yes.
Like he is like a licensed killer.
Yeah.
Because like they gave his backstory of like everything that he's done. He's like super smart, and so he is now, I think, coming to Gotham.
Yeah. Probably to take out Batman.
Probably. Well, there is like this gang that's happening right now, the Black Masks gang.
Yeah, the wild animals.
This gang
animal
sounds. This gang
It's
sounds
something like that.
the Wild Boys. It's Steve-O. Running around Gotham. No, but it's like this gang that is kind of ruthless. Like just killing people.
Yeah, they like lit a bus on
Just
fire.
kind of ruthless.
Just like, I mean, they're a little rough.
Just killing indiscriminately. No, they make allusions to how horrific they're killing people, and it's just like I don't
know if it
I don't
could
need,
ever get that bad.
I don't need that. Like, just tell me they're bad, and they're killing people.
Yeah, but they're absolutely bad. Mike.
Yeah. They're absolute villains. They eat their cereal with no milk.
oh god, demented.
Absolute freaks. And that I think that's really
Okay.
as far as
My favorite aspect of this is the main knock on Batman has been that this guy is wealthy beyond belief and intelligent beyond belief.
right.
And all he does is fight crime, right? Whereas he could be putting a lot of money into like
Social programs.
infrastructure and social programs and things like that, but he focuses all his money on making souped up cars and then like swinging around the city.
He could just like kill people too.
Yeah, he could do that. Solve
Second
some
knock,
problems.
he lets people live.
Yeah. This Batman comes from no money and is so obsessive about helping his city that he's from that he involves himself in all the different departments of the city to know all the ins and out of it, know all the different aspects of like social work, of like structural
Integrity. He knows the sewer.
Engineering.
He knows the sewer system.
engineering, the water lines, the sewer system. Like they talk about all these different jobs that he's put himself into to become an expert on like a cultural and infrastructural level from his city, from like every angle, to understand exactly what's at the heart of the city and what it needs to be successful. And yeah, so interesting to take the money away from Batman and then have him be doing all of the things that you would want the Batman with all the money to be doing, right?
Well, yeah, and instead of him leaving for 20 years to go train with ninjas on the Alps or the Himalayas,
yeah.
he's just been like working blue collar jobs.
Yeah. Right.
For 20 years,
Yeah.
like learning everything there is to know
He
about
wasn't in the
Gotham.
Lazarus pit. He wasn't
Yeah.
training with Ra's al Ghul.
He's more in touch with what a city is and what a city needs than our other
What a city wants. What a city
than our other Bruce
needs.
Wayne. And they do allude to someone who has gone and trained with a Ra's al Ghul
Yeah.
somewhere and has become this like master or expert, but it's not Bruce.
Right.
It's someone else. So potentially there's another person who's going to end up being like a major player in this comic at some point.
It's Superman. I don't know.
It'd be cool if it was Catwoman.
That would be actually sick.
Yeah. And we know
Actually, yeah, because Catwoman grew up in Gotham as a poor like orphan, right?
Oh, yeah. So here, yeah.
That would be sick. as
Other
hell.
flip of the coin.
Yeah.
This book slapped. Donny Cates could never.
He wouldn't dream.
I mean, right? Like this is if you didn't know Scott Snyder wrote this, you could easily see Donny Cates writing this book.
Yep.
Yeah. It's an interesting breath of fresh air that I didn't know Batman had in him. Because
Yeah.
it took away everything that made him kind of boring and really brought him down a couple pegs.
But let me say this too. It is also a cartoony, silly, fun comic.
Oh yeah, this is
yeah.
not nitty gritty.
No.
Yeah.
I think there's, sometimes there's an expectation with this stuff that it's going to be like so heavy-handed and serious.
Yeah.
And like that's what people want. Like this was very comic booky and I really enjoyed that from it.
My question to you guys as I was reading this was,
Yes, all day and all night.
is this the superior Spider-Man of Batman?
No.
I could see it.
Right?
Yeah, I could see it.
Because we just talked about this on
Yeah.
on the Patreon. It is my Superior Spider-Man is my preferred Spider-Man. It is my favorite Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
And I think this is gearing up to be that, where it's all the stuff that makes Batman Batman, but different and fresh enough
Yeah.
that it's going to piss off all the old heads, which
Uh-huh.
just makes me love it more.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And there is this interesting turn of like someone else in this position with the gifts that you have at your disposal does something that made a bigger impact and a bigger difference.
Yeah.
And you use your abilities for one thing, and then some people use abilities for other things, and I don't know. You think like all these characters are written like they push themselves to the absolute limit for the good of humankind, but there's different routes and different limits.
Yeah.
For all of that, and some of them are almost irresponsible when you look at what some of the routes can yield, right?
Yeah.
And like this book really poses that scenario because it's written so much so with that like thematic difference of him being raised poor and being like a better Batman already almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really written in contrast to or to make a point about mainline Batman, I feel. So I'm really interested in like how it continues its commentary in contrast to that.
Yeah. This book rips.
Yeah. Just like how Superior Spider-Man,
Yeah.
he like started this like massive conglomerate and was like feeding people all over the world and was like,
Yeah.
see what I did?
Yeah.
With
See how easy that was?
with your like branding and name, like I knocked it out of the park in like 2 months. I like changed the world.
You are not good at this.
You've been like punching guys that like turn into lizards.
Yeah, and the first thing he does is finish his college degree.
Yes.
Or finish his doctorate.
Yes,
like
he finishes his doctorate. Yeah, he's just like Spider-Man never could go to school because he was always punching randos.
Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be this Batman.
Yeah,
right. It's
right.
like, I fixed all of Gotham's problems because I learned how to be a social worker.
Yes.
Okay, so then what are
City
your
planning Batman?
what are your expectations now for the Wonder Woman and Superman book? Seeing as how incredible this book was.
Well, I know the writers on them are incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it'll just be fun to see the different fresh takes they've got on the characters. And they're all going to be so wildly different that I don't know that they'll hit like this. Like, I'll be interested to see if they're all going to be a commentary on being a better or worse version of the version that we know. Like, is Superman's kind of always been like a commentary on like what it means to be an American and like a true Boy Scout.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is he gonna be morally gray?
yeah, like if he becomes morally gray, that's like enough different.
Yeah.
Like
Loses virginity at 29.
yeah, right. It'd be really out there. I don't know. I would love to see a more brutal, succinct Superman.
His name is Homelander, and he's from the series The Boys.
Did it while you were reading this book, in the back of your mind, were you thinking about the All-In initiative and whether or not Booster Gold would show up or some 10,000 foot tall Darkseid?
Part of me, yeah, was like the way that introductory book led in made me think that Batman was gonna kill his parents himself and
Dark.
yeah, and just like everyone on this planet is like the absolute darkest version
It's like
of themselves.
Crossed meets DC.
Yeah.
Like that's honestly kind of what I expected this to be, and it was not that. It's like it's a world and a society that exists wherein there are morally sound people and there are bad
Morally
people.
unsound people.
Yeah, and it very much seems like a world that could exist in reality, which is a little out of line with this big lead-in book, which I don't know if this book may have like jumped back in time and been like, this is before Darkseid
Gotcha.
enters this world and manipulates everybody to become like an army of evil superheroes.
Well, to go back to All In, I think he just took over the Legion of superheroes. So he may not be close to Earth right now in this absolute universe.
He just traveled to that universe.
Yes.
And he's in outer space doing space stuff.
Yes, because the Legion of Superheroes, when Booster Gold arrived on the Absolute verse,
I just assumed Darkseid was on Earth in those the cities. And yeah, where did Booster Gold land?
He landed on Earth.
Okay,
but when
wasn't there like a 80-story size Darkseid
well,
there?
that may be the jump into the future that you're talking about.
Okay.
So, because when Booster Gold looked at his hand where his Legionnaire
ring had been,
it was a big Omega ring instead of the Legionnaire ring.
Yeah.
So, I think you're right. I think this book maybe happens before the whole all-in thing happens. So,
yeah.
I didn't read that, so all this is just going.
Yeah. It's probably good.
Yeah, it's a big asterisk smudge for me. And it almost sullies the Absolute verse.
Yeah.
And I think, thank you for the person on our Discord who kind of pointed out that DC did tell us this was going to be the case.
They were going to end up colliding with each other. I didn't realize. I thought it was just going to holistically be its own separate thing.
And knowing that, I still stand by my point that they should not be connected.
Well, I think it'd be fun to have this opportunity wherein Absolute Batman just keeps being Absolute Batman in this alternate timeline, and if we end up loving this version of Bruce Wayne, maybe this book continues to go on for 100 issues, and if Scott Snyder can't write it, someone else takes up writing it, just like Ultimate Spider-Man, right?
DC would never.
Yes, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They like money.
No, man. They'll be like, nope, one Batman. Can't have two. That's a DC move.
Time will tell. Maybe this is what gets Donny Cates back in the comic books. Scott Snyder can't keep up, so they get Donny Cates in there.
I'd read it.
The first proper Absolute book, thumbs up.
Totally.
All right.
Big thumbs up.
6 thumbs up.
I can't wait to read what Kelly Thompson's doing Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah. Yeah?
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
That'll be rad.
Yep.
We'll talk about it when it happens.
Absolute Swamp Thing. When?
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Bye.